Folks, we've got a huge patch to talk about, enormous Battlegrounds changes, story mode incoming, lots of other little stuff. Let's jump into this.
Hey, buddy, watch this.
So I think first and foremost, the biggest thing here is pirates are coming to Battlegrounds. There is a whole assortment of minions here in the pirate pool for Battlegrounds and some pirate synergy cards. I'm not going to talk about each of these cards in this video because there are so many. I'll be putting out a future video going into detail on each of these cards, essentially reviewing them for Battlegrounds. Keep that in mind. There are also a ton of new heroes coming to Battlegrounds and some returning ones like Patches the Pirates, some pirate synergy heroes, or at least pirate-themed heroes, certainly Captain Eudora, Sky Captain Crag, Captain Hooktusk. Also, in the future, Arana Starseeker is coming to Battlegrounds, and she's all about the story mode with Demon Hunter stuff in particular. Now, alongside that, I think most important is that Battlegrounds is also going to change the way it works with shifting minion pools. So there are now 6 minion types in Battlegrounds with pirates being added. Hearthstone team has decided that's too many. It's going to make things awkward. It's make the numbers all wonky. So when you start a game of Battlegrounds, you're now going to see which 5 minion types are available. So sometimes you'll get pirates. Sometimes you might not actually even get pirates. Other times you might be missing murlocs or mechs or demons. And I think that's going to have some crazy big impacts on how exactly Battlegrounds games play out, because you're going to have to be aware of what the best strategy is in any given pool. You know, if murlocs aren't there, that really changes how the late game might develop, for instance, how pivots are possible. Maybe that makes dragons your biggest priority, or maybe pirates now that they're out. So every game of Battlegrounds is potentially going to be much different because there are a lot of different variations there for what's possible. So between all the different heroes, the minion pools available, suddenly things are crazy mixed up. I think that'll add a lot of freshness to Battlegrounds, which is really, really cool. One important note is that I guess for now, pirates will always be available in the minion pool until they join the shifting minion pool in a future update. So you don't have to risk not getting the cool new cards starting now. So we are going to take a quick look, I think, at the new heroes here in Battlegrounds in this video. Now, noteworthy, of course, is the Battlegrounds perks will open these heroes up very soon for these heroes. Otherwise, you're going to have to wait a couple weeks to get access to these heroes. Not my favorite thing, as many people know, but that's how it works. Up first is Captain Eudora with a hero power called Buried Treasure, and she will dig for a golden minion, and that doesn't mean you get one immediately, but after you hit this button 4 times, you'll essentially get a golden minion, which is pretty sweet, because that means you essentially get to discover something of a higher tier when you play that golden minion. So it almost doesn't matter what it is. If it was something awesome, great. Even if it's not, you're still going to get to discover a higher tier minion, and it's going to cost you 4 gold over the course of the game. You can only hit this button once per turn, presumably, although we don't know for sure. This could be something that auto refreshes, but it doesn't look like it. So after 4 turns, you get a golden minion. You can play it whenever and grab that next highest tier. So you can choose when you power spike, essentially. Choose when you have that gold to flex throughout the course of the game, and you're going to get something big and awesome down the road. Moving on to Sky Captain Crag, he's got Piggy Bank, which will gain 1 gold this turn, and that increases each turn, but you can only use this once per game. So if you use this right away, you can get 1 bonus gold. If you wait till much later in the game, essentially getting up till 10, because you can't hold more than 10 gold at a time in a game of Battlegrounds, you could hit this button and get a 10 gold economy infusion all at once. You only get to do it that one time, but you could have that crazy 10 gold turn where you just pop off with all kinds of battle cries and a Catalytic Ghost. Whatever it is you want to use that gold for, tiering up super early on, from 4 to 5 is possible, perhaps with something like this. There are a handful of different ways you could utilize this, but finding the right moment's going to be key. That said, it seems like pirates in general are going to have a real economy focus and maybe like kind of a ramp focus where you're accelerating up to higher tiers much faster than your peers using all kinds of gold and economy shenanigans. And it seems like Sky Captain Crag could play pretty nicely into that. Next up here is Captain Hooktusk. Trash for Treasure is her hero power, which will remove a friendly minion and discover one from a tavern tier lower. It's 0 gold. So you can toss one of your minions on board and discover something from a lower tier. Now, I don't know if that means a tavern tier lower than the minion or a tavern tier lower than your tavern tier. That certainly has implications. It's not very clear. We'll see this one in action, and that's why I didn't want to review these hero cards. Sometimes these interpretations of these hero powers are a little bit tough. Now, I'm actually having trouble envisioning how this is going to work. I guess if you're doing things like playing a Battlecry minion, you certainly don't care about the Battlecry minion, but you might be able to discover something in a lower tier that's either like playing you towards a triple or you need that extra beast, and boom, you find it thanks to this hero power. Putting it at 0 mana means you are going to have some options for it. It kind of feels something like Malagos is hero power in a way, but you get to discover it instead of it being random. So even though it's a lower tier, there's still some additional upside as well, which is pretty sweet. So that said, after thinking about it, I'm pretty sure it's going to be a lower tier than the minion, not your hero, because if you push to tier 5, you'd get tier 4 minions all the time. That might be a little bit too powerful, or tier 6 into tier 5 minions, etc. So I'm sure it'll be a tier lower than the minion, but still, playing a strong shell scavenger or any kind of just flex buff minion and then finding something perhaps very good in the meantime could be a nice little hero power. So next up here is Patches, the pirate with the hero power Pirate Party. He will allow you to get a pirate, and then after you buy a pirate, your next hero power costs 1 less. So essentially, if you buy 4 pirates throughout the course of the game, this hero power goes down to 0 gold. You hit it, and I guess it gives you a random pirate. So if you're playing pirates, certainly that could be very synergistic for your build. It could also be unsynergistic. I'm assuming that's going to be capped at your tavern tier. It's not going to let you do things like get a tier 6 pirate the second turn of the game with 4 gold or even 3 gold. That might be a little bit too OP. But even just getting around the 3rd or 4th turn of the game, if you've bought a few pirates, getting a free minion can be a big deal, right? So not only can you sell that to invest in some gold, but you're also just power spiking your board with more stats and synergistic stats. Now, I will say this very much points you towards a pirate style game plan where you kind of have to buy pirates. And as we've seen in the past, sometimes having that restriction, that really narrowly focused mindset for heroes has been a problem. Usually those heroes don't do particularly well. Of course, if pirates are crazy good, maybe this holds up. If not, I'd be a little bit worried about Patches the pirate's viability. Small change here to the Rat King worth discussing. It no longer starts on beasts. It will now start any random minion type. It used to always start on beasts and then go random. So that has some implications about how you play the early game with Rat King. Might actually make him a little bit worse now, with Rabid Sarlisk being a possibility very often on turn 1, and you also have your Token Alley Cat, which is nice. But I don't know if it changes too much. Probably at the end of the day, feels about the same. And then one really, really subtle, ginormous change to Battlegrounds. Holy Mackerel has been removed from the minion pool. Mackerel has been a very defining minion in the late game in Battlegrounds. Absurdly strong. He's gone. Putricide also removed as a hero. Not much of a loss there. Virtually nobody played Putricide, but Holy Mackerel will completely change how in-game builds function with the sort of ping-ponging Holy Mackerel Divine Shield styles that were winning so many games in Battlegrounds. I think this opens up a lot of possibilities to play the game differently, which is very welcome. So again, here we have minions, which I'll be talking about in a future video. Stay tuned for that. There are some crazy ones, some absurd stuff. We'll get into it all. So that said, let's move into the solo adventure, which will be coming out in the near future. This follows the story of Arana Starseeker, who is Elise's younger sister. And as you can see, it's going to have various chapters that you'll play through fighting against the Rusted Legion and Mecha Jaraxxus. Specifically, this comes out June 17th. It's totally free. You'll earn a card back for completing it. There are no new cards, no other rewards. This is more about a free fun bonus than, a sort of fully crafted solo player experience like dungeon runs. So this will be more in the style of Galakrond's Awakening, but without the cards that you unlock. But again, just totally free, totally for fun, and a story mode. Obviously, I wish, this was a bigger deal and more awesome, and we got new cards, and it was more content than it appears to be. That said, I know we got like Demon Hunter, all this crazy new stuff in this expansion, so I'm not shocked that the solo stuff fell a little to the wayside, particularly because it's free, so it's not something that Blizzard's going to be able to monetize at all or has any desire to. So I think we just have to look at it as a bonus, and any kind of cool story, any great experiences, any fun boss fights are all just free bonuses, and at the end of the day, that's totally fine. Arana, as the new Battlegrounds hero, will be joining a little bit later than the other heroes we talked about, but her hero power is Demon Hunter Training. It's passive, and it reads, after you refresh 7 times, Bob always has 7 minions, which to me seems crazy good. Refreshes happen very naturally. I don't think you're going to want to necessarily force this, but having 7 minions in the tavern gives you the luxury of so much choice, helping you find the right triples, helping you find key minions for your build. That seems great, and frankly, this could happen fairly early in the game pretty consistently. So this seems like Arana is going to be really, really good to me. So an additional aspect of the single player stuff is the trial by Felfire challenges, which are going to come out, it looks like, a week later. And in these cases, you won't have pre-constructed decks, but you'll have to build your own decks and beat the bosses. This feels a little bit like heroic bosses of the old single player stuff, like back in Naxxramas, where you have to construct a deck to defeat these, which sounds pretty fun. And if you beat that, you get a Golden Kael'thas. We were all wondering how to get Golden Kael'thas. Well, this is how. Complete trial by Felfire challenges, and you'll get that Golden Kael'thas, which is pretty awesome. I mean, that's a card we see all the time. So having it in Golden is going to make your decks a little spicier looking. On top of that, there's going to be a new legendary quest line, which means you're going to have a ton of pack rewards, it looks like, across various expansions here from the last year, and even some new Ashes of Outland packs too, if I had to guess. Yep, right there, Ashes of Outland packs. So stay tuned for unlocking all those rewards. And of course, a few small game improvements and bug fixes, as always, improving the quality of life of Hearthstone. That's cool. This looks like a great patch. You're going to have a ton of new stuff to do. Lots of Battlegrounds changes. That's the biggest aspect here. New story mode details. Finally, it looks certainly fun, if not particularly, excessive in its content, but still really enjoyable. There's a trailer, which we're not going to watch, but I encourage you to go check out. It's pretty cool. There'll be a link to these patch notes in the description below. So that's awesome. This looks like it's going to be a really fun event for Hearthstone, and certainly we'll spend some time in Battlegrounds testing out all this new stuff. That said, stay tuned for the full Minion review coming out later today. But for now, thanks for joining me for these patch notes. Share your thoughts in the comments below. But until then, thanks much for watching, and until next time, game on.